Today I bring to you one of my most requested videos, an on the pole conditioning workout. Now I have been putting this video off for a little while. Firstly, because everyone who's been requesting this video is at a very different level of pole dancing. And secondly, my own personal pole conditioning practice is very specific to the tricks that I'm training that day and to my body personally. So whether I'm training deadlifts or whether I'm training maybe a more flexibility based trick, my specific conditioning exercises are always specific to those. So if there is a particular trick that you want to work on, just chuck that in the comments below and I'll be sure to make a video specific to that trick. So for today's video, I've decided to keep it at a more intermediate level. For someone who's maybe just starting to learn to invert, or maybe someone who already knows how to invert, but they just want to learn how to make it a little bit better, a little bit stronger. Even though this is an on the pole conditioning workout, I'm going to take us off the pole first. And we're going to focus on just activating through our core and specific muscles of the shoulders before we then take you up onto the pole, because I believe the magic initially happens off the pole. And just a super quick shout out to Playful Cat Polewear for my super cute pole outfit. You can use code AMY10 for a discount. I'm going to begin first with a short sequence to help you warm up and activate your core. So we're going to begin this sequence on our back. And I'm going to get you to bring your feet gently up to 90 degrees. Now it's really important that we make sure we maintain our back nice and flat to the floor. Just keep an eye throughout this exercise that you never arch through your lower back. So just maintaining that nice flat spine, and we can do this by really thinking about tucking our tummy muscle in. I want you to place both your hands on the fronts of your thighs, and we're going to create a bit of resistance. So really pressing your hands into your legs. Doing this while also maintaining that flat spine should already start to bring on some tension through that core. And just make sure your shoulders are staying down as well. So we don't want them to raise up towards your ears, holding those shoulders down. Now I want you to keep tension between left hand and left leg, and we're going to proceed to extend the right leg out long. Big exhale as we bring that leg back in. So again, I'm going to inhale as I kick, exhale as I bring that leg back in. Now as I kick, I'm making sure that I do not arch through my lower back. So I don't want to see this. Make sure you're pressing that spine nice and flat to the floor. Now I'm also aiming to make sure that my shoulders stay down away from my ears, and that I'm starting to feel the burn a little bit through the abs. Now if you are starting to get any lower back pain or any hip popping, that is not allowed. You can simply place that left leg down on the floor, but still inhaling as you extend, exhale as you bring that leg back into the center. But if you can, keeping that left knee up at 90 degrees, keeping a little bit of tension between left hand and left leg. And inhale to extend, exhale to bring that leg back in. All right, we're going to challenge ourselves. I want you to hold this one out. We're going to squeeze this right leg super straight, keeping shoulders down away from your ears, spine pressing nice and flat to the floor, and really thinking about tucking in through that tummy muscle. Keep holding, nice and strong through those core muscles. Again, if you need to, you're getting any lower back pain or funny hip popping, we can just place that left leg down on the floor. All right, let's bring that leg back in. Big exhale and return back into the center. Let's go on to our second side. So right hand pressing into right leg. We're going to inhale as we kick with the left. Exhale as you bring that left leg back into the center. Inhale to extend. Exhale to bring that left leg back in. Now remember, we're trying to keep that spine nice and flat to the floor. So I'm really focusing on tucking in through that tummy muscle. And if you need to, again, we can place right leg down on the floor. But if you can, holding that right knee up. And just keep an eye that that right knee is positioned directly on top of that right hip. It's not in too close or out too far away. And then just using that breathing to help, making sure there is no arching between that lower back and the floor. And again, shoulders staying down away from those ears the entire time. All right, next one we're going to challenge ourselves and we're going to hold that leg out. So hold that left leg out long and low, pressing spine nice and flat to the floor. Shoulders pulling down away from those ears, tummy muscle tucking in. Every time you exhale, we should really be able to tuck that tummy in a bit more and in turn get a little bit more burn through that core. Keep holding for me. Make sure that left leg is squeezing as straight as it can. And big exhale, we're going to return that left leg back into the center. Just placing those legs back down on the floor. After a few seconds, a little bit of a quick rest, we're gonna just repeat that same sequence again. So again, I'm gonna get you to make sure you're pressing that spine nice and flat to the floor. Now lifting your legs up with me, we're gonna lift the left, keeping that spine flat, lift the right. Place hands on the fronts of your thighs and just resisting into those legs for just a few moments, making sure shoulders are down, tummy's tucking in, and spine's pressing flat. All right, let's extend through that right leg. So inhale to extend, exhale to bring that right leg back into the center. Now remember, we don't want to arch. Keep that spine nice and flat to the floor. Inhale as you kick, exhale as you bring the leg back into the center. Just keeping a little bit of tension between left hand and left leg. And making sure this left leg doesn't actually move. Keep it nice and still. Shoulders pulling down away from those ears. And you can also keep an eye on that left foot. Make sure it doesn't drop down. Keep it up level with your knee. We're nearly done with this side. Inhale to kick, exhale to bring it back in. And just keeping a nice, slow, steady pace. Let's go for a hold. So hold this one out. Pulling shoulders down away from your ears, tucking that tummy muscle in. Keeping a bit of tension between left hand and left leg. Again, if you need to as well, we can do this with left leg down on the floor. But if you can, joining me with that leg up at 90 degrees, focusing on really tucking in through that tummy. Big exhale, let's return the leg back into the center. Swapping sides, so right hand now pressing into right leg, making sure my spine is still flat to the floor. I'm gonna inhale as I extend the left, exhale as it returns back into the center. Keeping those shoulders pulling down away from those ears the entire time. Inhale to kick, exhale to bring that leg back into the center. Now remember to make sure this right knee now stays super still and stays directly on top of your hip. Inhale to kick, exhale to bring it back into the center. Just embracing any little ab burn that's coming on. And squeezing that left leg super straight when we extend. All right, we're gonna hold our next one out. So we're gonna challenge, hold, keep those shoulders pulling down, tummy tucking in, spine nice and flat to the floor. Right hand pressing hard into that right leg, shoulders down away from those ears. If you need to, you can do this with that right leg down on the floor. But if you can, holding that right leg up with me. Squeezing tight. Keep holding. All right, big exhale. Let's pull that left leg down and back to the start position. We're just going to move over to a wall space next and just do a little sequence that's going to help us activate specific shoulder muscles that we need when we get up onto the pole. For this sequence, if you have a yoga block and a mini resistance band handy, keep them nearby because we're going to use them for our second exercise. If you don't have either of these two, don't stress. The exercise can be done without. And I suggest a very light resistance band as well, the lightest one that you have available. So first exercise we're going to start with, I want you to make sure that your back is pressing as flat to the wall as you can get it. So no arching through that lower back allowed. I should not be able to fit my hand between your lower back and the wall. So press it super flat to the wall and we hold that there by engaging through the core. So really tucking that tummy in. This first exercise is called angel wings. So you're going to bring your arms all the way up, straight up above head, as narrow as you can get them. I want you to pull those shoulders down away from your ears, and then we're going to squeeze those elbows into the side of your body. Again, no arching away from the wall. Keep your spine as flat to the wall as you can. Reaching back up above head, keeping those shoulders up. We're going to yank them down, squeeze the elbows in, and then release all the way back up above head from there. Now again, just keeping that back as flat to the wall as we can and really focusing on just trying to get those shoulders pulling all the way down away from those ears. We should start to feel this one in our lower traps. So it's kind of in your mid-back area, kind of between the lower part of your shoulder blades. Just keeping them slow and just paying attention to where you actually feel this one working. Some of you may find this harder above head, and some of you may find this harder below. So at this down point here. If you find it harder up here, you'll find it's your lats that are very, very tight. The big muscles kind of down here. And if it's down here, it's generally your pecs and shoulders that are very, very tight. We're just gonna go for one more, so pulling those shoulders down, squeezing in. So make sure elbows squeeze the side of your body, and then reach all the way back up above head. From here, if you've got your mini resistance band and yoga block handy, grab a hold of those. I'm gonna place my very light band around my wrists and squeeze the block between my elbows. So the purpose of the block is to stop your elbows winging out. So if you don't have a yoga block, make sure you're working hard to squeeze those elbows in the whole time. Don't let them wing out, we've got to keep them in. And the purpose of the band, it kind of just makes things harder, but it also works for a bit of proprioception, so giving you something to push your wrists out against. So again, if you've got the band and the block, squeeze the block between your elbows. Make sure your shoulders stay down the entire time and your back stays super flat to the wall. We're going to proceed to tap up above head, keeping those shoulders down, and then lower back down from there. Again, keeping those shoulders down as we tap above head, and then lower back down from there. Make sure your back stays flat, shoulders stay down, and just pay attention, it's not just your wrists kind of flicking out. Really try and pull your wrists out, not just those fingers, wrists out. Big tap all the way up above head. Keep this one slow. If this one's easy, you're probably doing it wrong. Again, if you don't have the yoga block, really make sure you're working hard to keep those elbows narrow. About shoulder width or narrower. Just a few more in, keeping those shoulders down. Keeping those abs squeezing. And we're nearly there. We get about 10 more seconds. So just fitting in what you can. Again, we should be feeling these ones right at the back of those shoulders. Definitely a good challenge, these ones. You might find them awkwardly difficult at first, but if you stick with them and do these regularly, they should get easier. All right, let's just do one more. So keeping those wrists pulling out, tap, and gently lower back down. Well done. Now, I would actually suggest doing this one 2 times. So both your angel wings and then that second bent arm exercise we did. But for the purpose of keeping this video not too long, I'm gonna move on to our next exercise. For this next exercise, we're gonna perform 10 reps to the front, 10 reps to the side, and then we're gonna swap sides and do the other leg. So we're gonna start by holding onto the pole for balance, and I want you to squeeze your outside leg. So for me right now, this is my right leg. I'm gonna squeeze it as straight as I can. So I want you to think like an uncooked piece of spaghetti. Squeeze it tight. I'm gonna slightly add a bit of external rotation at my leg, so I'm kind of rotating so my knees pointing slightly out to the side. We're gonna take a big exhale, engage through the core, lift as high as we can, and lower back down. Now again, we're going for 10, so try and stick at my pace. Squeeze as high as you can, lower back down. Now just pay attention to that bottom leg for me, your inside leg. Make sure that you're not just caving in through that bottom knee. Squeeze straight, both legs, like uncooked pieces of spaghetti. Squeezing tight as high as you can, keeping this really slow, so no rushing. Now it's also important that you keep an eye on your pelvis. Just make sure as you lift, it doesn't tuck under to get the leg higher. Keep that pelvis neutral, and if all you can get to is here, that's fine. Or even if it's lower than that, that's fine too. All right, let's keep going. I'm at about number 7. So big lift and lower down. All right, for this last one, we're gonna add a hold. So be ready, it's quite tough, but lift, hold, adding a slight bit of external rotation. Make sure you're squeezing your quad, squeezing your knee super straight on the top and also the bottom leg. Lifting as high as you can, making sure shoulders are relaxed, core is tucking in, and we're slowly gonna lower back down. This time we're gonna repeat the same thing, but I want you to take your leg out on a 45-degree angle. Now for this one, it's important, I'm not just kind of lifting sideways, I'm still lifting up. Lifting side's gonna hit a different muscle. So I'm gonna add a slight bit of external rotation to my leg, and we're gonna go for 10. Squeezing both knees super straight, lift, and lower down. As high as you can, maintain that neutral pelvis, and keep both knees super straight. Again, we're going for 10, so try and stick with my pace. Squeezing those knees and lifting as high as we can. Thinking about number 7, so we're nearly there. All right, last one, let's go for a hold. Squeeze, lift as high as you can. Really straight legs, nice neutral spine, hold, see if you can lift a bit higher. And we'll lower back down. All done, they're pretty tough. All right, let's go to the other side. So again, we're gonna start inside hand holding onto the pole for balance. I'm gonna get you to squeeze that left leg as straight as you can, and we're gonna lift 10 times. Make sure you're squeezing that bottom knee too. Keeping that pelvis neutral, so making sure it doesn't tuck under to get higher. Shoulders relax down away from those ears. Keep an eye on that bottom knee. We're about halfway, 5 left. Stick with me. Final 2. Let's go for a hold. Ready? Hold. Keep squeezing both knees super straight. Core tucking in. And lower down. Well done. Those holds are tough. All right, let's go slightly out to the side. So 45-degree angle, adding a slight bit of external rotation to the leg. And we're gonna squeeze both knees as straight as we can. All right, going for 1. And 2. Keeping that nice neutral pelvis. Core is tucked in. And both knees are super straight. Nearly there, up to number 7. Keep getting as high as you can while still maintaining that neutral pelvis and straight knees. 2 more. All right, let's go for a hold. Ready? Hold up nice and high, squeeze both knees. This is my weaker side. Squeezing tight. All right, let's gently lower back down. Ooh, well done. Give those legs a second to decramp and we'll move on. Next, we're just gonna wake up the booty. So I want you to face the pole for this exercise, and I'm gonna start with my right leg first. So I'm gonna straighten it behind me as straight as I can. No floppy knees, squeeze straight. My core is tucked in so that I'm not already arched through my lower back. Core is on, so I've got a nice neutral pelvis. From here, I'm gonna squeeze, kick my leg, and lower back down. We're gonna do this 10 times, so try and stick with my pace. Keeping it nice and slow, focusing on keeping both knees straight. I'm really trying to squeeze the butt to make that leg kick as high as it can. Now also just keep an eye that you're not just winging your hip open to the side. Keep both hips square and facing down towards the floor. Now when we get to 10, I've got about 2 left. We're gonna hold that leg up. So I want you to hold and we're gonna go for some butt kicks 10 times. So now we're focusing on getting those hamstrings awake. 10 kicks in as close as you can. Keep that bottom knee straight, core on. And again, we're just going for 10. Make sure your hips are still square. Shoulders are down away from those ears. 3 more. All right, let's do the other leg. So straightening that left leg out nice and straight. We're gonna kick 10 times. Squeezing that knee tight. Again, just sticking with my pace. All right, let's go for our hold. Squeeze, we're gonna kick the butt 10 times. Again, keeping that core switched on so that we're not overarching through that back. One last big kick. Now we're gonna move on to some pole chin-ups and lunges. But before we begin that little superset, I just wanna do one quick exercise that's just gonna help teach you correct chin-up technique. So I'm gonna place my outside hand on top, which for me right now, I'm gonna place my right hand on top. Just kind of at about face or eye height. From there, I want you to really try and yank those shoulders down. So really pull those shoulders down away from your ears. And then we're gonna try and lift, keeping toes on the floor and lower back down. Now, before I set the timer, just make sure that you're making most of your pull come from your arms. You're not just calf raising. Toes are just there, just for a little bit of balance. most of the pull and your body weight should be put into those arms. So let's go for a minute, hands just in front of your face. We're gonna pull those shoulders down, lift, and lower down. Now core should be on. Again, try not to use those toes. Lift through the shoulders down, lift, and lower back down. So really just warming up those shoulders a little bit further before we take all that body weight into those arms. But it's important we think shoulders down and lift. Also watch they're not like rolling forward. Really try and keep them down and back. And keep going for me, shoulders down, lift, and lower back down. We're in that last half of this minute now. So again, working really hard, shoulders down, lift, and lower back down. Doing really well. We got 10 seconds. Just really focusing on just breaking the movements up. Shoulders down, lift, and gently lower down. Let's do one more. Shoulders down, lift, and lower back down. All right, we're gonna move on to our first superset. So for this one, we're gonna be doing a pole chin-up variation with some pole lunges, and we're gonna do that 2 times each side. So what we're gonna start first with our chin-up variation, and we're gonna do this for 1 minute, and then we're gonna go straight into some lunges. So for this one, we're gonna pull shoulders down, lift, tap the toes, and lower down. And we're gonna do this for a minute. Let's go, shoulders down, lift, lower down. So watch that you're really pulling those shoulders down, mimicking the same movements from that previous exercise. Now, if you want to make it harder, you can try and bring your hands higher, but keep shoulders pulling down as we tap and lower back down. Otherwise, you're welcome to stay at about face height. Shoulders down, squeeze the knees straight, and lower back down. Make sure those knees stay straight. I don't want any floppy knees. And again, we're going for a minute. Nearly there, about 10 seconds. Last one, shoulders down, tap, and lower down. All right, we're gonna move on to some lunges. So I'm gonna hold the pole with my inside hand. My right leg is gonna stay still, and I'm gonna reverse lunge, left leg back, lift, squeeze that leg super straight. Let's go for a minute. Lunge down, squeeze this leg super straight. Keep them slow, no need to rush. Now it's really important on my lunge that I keep this knee open over my pinky toe. Don't let it cave in. It's not good for your knees and it will hurt your hips as well. Keeping that knee open is going to give you a little bit more booty squeeze. All right, let's keep it going. Using that pole for balance. Focusing first on keeping that knee open for me. Again, keeping an eye on that knee, making sure it's pointing over those little toes. Squeezing that inside leg super straight as it comes up to the top. Nearly there. Five seconds, so just fitting in what you can. All right, well done. We're gonna do the other side. So this time, well, last time I had my right hand on top. So this time we're gonna change, so left hand is on top. We're gonna do a minute worth of the chin-up taps and then go onto our lunge on the other leg. All right, outside hand on top. Let's go for that minute. So pulling shoulders down, lift, tap, and lower. Shoulders down, tap, and lower. Now remember, shoulders down is super important. Make sure we don't have any floppy knees. And just keeping it nice and slow and steady. Nearly there. We're about halfway now. Squeezing those knees tight. And last one. Got left leg planted forward. I'm gonna step back, right leg. Make sure my knees open, hips are level, squeeze the right leg straight. All right, let's smash it out for this minute. Last lunge, and we made it through that superset. All right, round number 2, starting first with our chin up tap. So again, we're changing hands. I want the right hand on top this time. We're gonna lift through the shoulders, tap, and lower back down, going for 1 minute. Core on strong, and knees super straight. Oh, we're past halfway, doing well. Last few seconds. All right, moving on to our lunges. So holding the pole with your inside hand, I'm gonna keep my outside leg still, and we're gonna step back, inside leg, kick, and hold it straight. We're going for a minute. Now, last round, we're focusing on keeping that knee open. This time, I want you to keep an eye on your hip level. Make sure that your hips aren't wonky. Really try and keep those hips at that same height. So I don't want this. Keep them level. Squeezing that left knee super straight. And keeping that knee open, hips as level as we can. Last 5 seconds. All right, let's get ready for the other side. All right, so remember we're changing hands. Outside hand on top. We're gonna go for our chin up tap. So it's left hand on top this time. All right, let's do it. Shoulders down, tap, and down gently. Again, let's try and see if we can do this for 1 minute. It's a good challenge. Doing well. All right, last one, shoulders down, tap, and lower. Whew, those ones are all done. Let's move on to our last lot of lunges. So I've got left leg planted forward. I'm gonna step back, right leg. Make sure my knees open, hips are level, squeeze the right leg straight. All right, let's smash it out for this minute. Now, another thing that I'm also paying attention to in my lunges is just making sure that I'm not completely upright. That's actually overarching my back and putting the unnecessary pressure through my lower back. Instead, I slightly hinge forward at my hips. I don't round forward, I slightly hinge forward as I drop, squeeze, and lower back down. All right, we've got like 10 seconds left. Last 6. Last lunge. And we made it through that superset. Your last superset for today, before we move on to some invert practice, is gonna be a little bit more ab focused. So we're gonna start with a standing exercise on both sides, and then we're gonna drop it down to a floor-based pole conditioning exercise. So for this first one, you're gonna wanna have your outside hand on top. I place my hips in front of the pole, and then we're gonna try and hover, and we're gonna pull the knees in and lower down. This time we're gonna go for 30-second intervals. Again, I'm gonna do this on both sides, and then we're gonna drop it down to the floor. All right, let's go for that first 30 seconds. Now, still make sure that we're maintaining shoulders down and back the entire time as we squeeze those knees in and release back down. Nearly there. Now, if you need, if that's too hard, we can simply try these straight from the floor. Lift and toes down, but if you can, challenge yourself. You got 5 seconds. All right, let's do the other side. So now we're swapping hands. I'm gonna place my outside hand, my left hand on top. Again, the easier option is toes to the floor each set. But if you want a challenge, I want you to go a little bit higher up. So lift, hips in front, tuck, and lower. Again, just 30 seconds, so we've only got 10 to go. All right, well done. Let's bring it down to the floor. So for this first round, we're gonna have our right shoulder on the pole, outside hand on my left hand on top. Both hands cupped around the pole. I'm gonna show you the hardest variation first. We're gonna lower the knees down, keeping back flat, come up to here, reverse crunch. Now, if straight legs is hard or you get any back pain, we can do this, knees bent. All right, let's go for 30 seconds. Keep it nice and slow and steady. Shoulders down, away from those ears, and tummy nice and tucked in. So I inhale as I lower, exhale as I lift, exhale as I come up into that crunch. All right, we're nearly there. One more. All right, second round. Right hand on top first, or outside hand on top, hips in front. We're gonna lift and lower. Just 30 seconds. Again, if you need to, you can tap toes down to the floor. Otherwise, if you can, try and challenge yourself. Toes up, 5 seconds. Well done. Let's do the other side, 30-second interval. Outside hand on top, inside hand underneath, hips in front. 30 seconds, let's go. And don't forget, if you need, you can place toes down on the floor in between. 15 seconds to go. Make sure shoulders are staying down. And well done. All right, let's bring it back down to the floor. For the second round, I'm gonna start with my left shoulder on the pole, right hand cupped up on top of my left. And again, we can go straight legs or we can go bent. Let's go for 30 seconds. Now make sure that your back does not arch, or if it's arching, then just drop down to that easier option. Now if you still finding this quite difficult, we can actually drop it all the way down to single leg. But if you can, going for that harder version. Last few seconds. And last one. Well done. We got one more thing to practice for today's pole conditioning workout. And depending on your current level, I'm going to give you two different options. If you're just starting to learn your inverts, we're just going to start with a basic froggy invert first. If you're a little bit more advanced, I'm going to give you an option in a moment. So I'm going to start with my outside hand on top and just pop my hips all the way in front of the pole. Now it's really important that we keep those shoulders down away from your ears. Try not to let them raise up towards your ears. So shoulders down. We're going to see if we can hover, bend the knees in and rotate overhead. Slowly controlling that lower back down as well. Now if you've got bent knees quite easy, you can also try and do this one leg straight, one knee bent. Always controlling the lower back down as much as you do the lift. And if you've still got that pretty well, you're going to try both legs straight. So again, keeping those shoulders down, squeeze back that entire time. I put my hips all the way in front, outside hand on top. Hover, squeeze straight, rotate. Now just pay attention to your back. We want to try not to round through your back. Really try and pull, like right now, hopefully when I come back around, you can see that I'm rounded. Try and keep those shoulders squeezing down and back as you lower, keeping it controlled. I'd suggest trying each of those variations 3 times on this side and 3 times on your other side. If you are quite a little bit more advanced, you're going to try some spider climbs for me. So your spider climbs, we basically invert one side, pull up, and then you're going to be inverting on the other side. I'll give you an example now. I'm going to start my other side this time. So outside hand on top, and your goal is to squeeze your legs as straight as you can. So I don't want no floppy knees. I'm going to see how many I can fit in on my home pole. Hopefully I can get in about 3, but we'll see how we go. So outside hand on top, I'm going to squeeze straight, hook my outside leg on top, step up with my hands, slide the legs down, invert again. Outside leg on top, step, step, invert, nice straight legs. Your goal is to complete 3 attempts of those, 3 starting from that side, and then 3 starting from this side. I hope you enjoyed today's pole conditioning workout. If you did, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel and leave me a comment below. And if you did have any future requests or any future videos, or maybe a specific conditioning video for a specific trick, feel free to leave the request below and I'll do my best to make that video for you. Thanks for watching.